Hi everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. We're here today to do the tutorial on my design team project using Graphic 45's Season to Celebrate collection. We're going to make 12 folios and this beautiful display box that you can not only store your folios in, but also to use them as a decor piece in your home. I think you're going to really love this project. It's a lot of fun and the papers are just absolutely gorgeous. So let's get started with the tutorial. I cannot wait to make this with you. Thanks so much for watching. Okay everybody, we're going to get started with the tutorial. Now what I wanted to just show you is that the papers for the collection are done by season. And so this is winter, which has January, February, and December. I've done all of the other ones, and tonight I'm going to bring this in real quick. We're going to do September, October, and November. So we'll do the 3 months of fall tonight because I want to show you how to cut all of these papers, because I kind of did this project based on what the cut aparts and everything looked like. So these are all going to be basically put together the same, except for one little piece. So as you saw in the walkthrough, January looks like this, and then this is the piece that's going to differ in all of the books, okay, because of the cut aparts. So I'm calling this piece D. So when you look down below in the description, this piece will be D, and it will only be for 4 of the months because there is only one 4x4 cut apart, for this paper collection for the cut aparts. February is piece E as an elephant, okay? And that piece will be this 3x4 cut apart, okay? The one that is vertical, all right? That's the only difference between these things. And then December is F, and the piece F is going to be the 4x3 or landscape cut apart, okay? So otherwise, everything else is put together the same, okay? So I just want to make sure that you all know that. So when you are making these, do use, look at the list. I will have down the months for the piece D, piece E, and piece F, so which one you need. And then do keep track of your pieces and use your post-it notes as you go, so you kind of, can tell where things go. I hope that makes sense. It will as we get going with this project. So tonight, like I said, we're doing September, October, and November, and I've already put together the 2 main folios for November, okay, without that extra piece, because I want to show you that and make sure that we're all on the same page. For October, again, the folios are all done the same except for that one flap that goes here, which ends up being on the inside back cover, okay? That's where the differences are for the folios. And then the paper collection is by season, okay? So we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. So we're making fall, everything else is done. All right, so I'm going to put together one of these folios with you, and then we will put those extra pieces in. It's really easy. It doesn't, honestly, it's not super complicated. It's really quite simple. So I've got the pieces here. It looks like a lot. Now, piece A is the actual folio kind of cover. You're going to need to make 12 of those. In all, okay? They are 10.5 by 7, and you're going to, I'm using my black artisan cardstock. I thought that that would be really, really pretty with the paper collection, and it would complement everything really nice. But other colors, you could use craft, you could use brown, I think white, natural. Those colors would look really good with this, or you could shake it up and by season you could use a different color. So, but I chose to go with the black. All right. So again, piece A is 10.5 by 7. And then you're going to put it in your scoreboard with the 10.5 at the top. You're going to score at 5 and at 5.5, and that's it. This is going to have a 1/2 inch spine. Each of the folios have a 1/2 inch spine. Okay. Now, a hint and tip for you: when you cut these out of your 12 by 12 paper, and again, I did make notes in the description for this. Cut your 7" by 12 piece first, and then trim it to 10.5 by 7. That 5" piece that will be left over, keep that off to the side, because that's where you can cut out your extra pieces. Okay, so we will, you can utilize those pieces for that. Okay, and I will have notes again in the description, because I always give you a cut guide for your cardstock, and any other hints and tips you might need written down, so you can copy paste it into your Word program or Pages or whatever you use and have that. Okay, so then that is the piece. Now September is going to be using piece F, which is the 4 5/8 by 3 1/8. Okay, so I have those pieces here. Okay, so piece F for September, 4 5/8 by 3 1/8. You're going to need 4 of these total, and these will go on months March, June, September, and December. Okay, put the 4 5/8 at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Okay, so your page here that you put your cut apart on will end up being 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. Okay, so that's that piece. And then let's see, let's go back. We'll kind of backtrack here. Piece B, you need 2 of these per folio. They are 4 5/8 by 6 1/8. So for this entire project, you will need 24 of these. Okay, and you can get this out of one piece of your pattern paper, or excuse me, one piece of your cardstock. And let me show you. To cut 4 of these out of one piece of cardstock, what you need to do is, we're going to do that pinwheel technique. So if you add up these two numbers, 4 5/8 and 6 1/8, you get 10 6/8, or 10 3/4. Okay, so what you're going to end up doing is grab your cardstock, and we need to trim it to 10 3/4. Okay, so what you're going to do is, and you do kind of need one of these types of trimmers that makes it a lot easier because of the blade. The rotary trimmers makes it really kind of hard to do, so one of these is perfect. So we're going to put it in our cutter, and we're going to trim it to 10 3/4. Okay, so I'm just going to trim that piece off and throw that away, and then I'm going to turn it around and again trim it. And like I mentioned that the measurements, we added those up. They have to be less than 12 if you measure the two dimensions together, and that makes this work. But you do have to trim that paper down. Now if you were doing 5 by 7, 5 plus 7 is 12. You do not have to trim your paper. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so then what you're going to do, once you trim it down to the proper square, is you're going to put it in your cutter. And again, the measurements, 4 5/8 by 6 1/8. So what we're going to do is put it in our trimmer at 4 5/8. We're going to line that up. And then we're going to be very, very careful with this. So we're going to bring our blade down to 6 1/8, okay, to make the proper cut. And then we're going to stop. So you might have to stand over your board, go slow, and just watch where your blade is going, okay? And then you're going to stop. So you should have 4 5/8 here, but then you should have a cut that goes down to 6 1/8. And then you're going to turn it to the left. And I need a bigger desk. And you're going to line it up again at 4 5/8, okay? So you have the slit now at the bottom, okay? So we're just going to put this back in, and you can either go from the top to the bottom again, or if you've kept your blade in the proper position, you could start it there. But it probably is easier till you get the hang of this technique to go from the top down. And we're just going to slide that down until we meet that cut, okay? And then we got to stop, okay? Because you don't want to keep cutting through to your next panel. And then what you're going to have is your 4 5/8 by 6 1/8 inch piece, okay? So that's piece number 1. And then you're going to lift this up and you're going to turn it around again. And we're going to line this up again at 4 5/8. And this is where it gets easy because you don't have to watch for the paper. Piece number 2, turn it again, line it up at 4 5/8. Piece number 3 and piece number 4. So you really can get 4 pieces out of one sheet of cardstock, and this is all you have left over besides the strips that we cut off to start with, okay? You can keep these for, you know, belly bands or something like that, but that's how you do it. So I hope that that helps. If y'all haven't seen that technique, it's really awesome. And that's how I did that, okay? So you need 6 sheets of cardstock all together if you use that technique. Otherwise, you'll only get 3 of these out of one piece of cardstock, okay? So all that being said, you need 24 of these, 4 5/8 by 6 1/8. Put it in your scoreboard with the 4 5/8 at the top and score down at 1/2 inch on both of them, okay? That's piece B. Then piece C is going to be a pocket. You need to make 12 of these, and this took 1 1/2 pieces of paper. All I did was cut down on the 6. I cut it down to 6 by 12, and then I cut them into 3-inch pieces, okay? This is going to be a pocket, so we're going to put it in our scoreboard, and we're going to score at half, and then turn at half. I've already pre-scored them, so I'm showing you. And then half again, okay? And that's going to be the pocket, so that's piece C. And then you have piece G, and every one of these has a piece G. And that piece, it looks similar for one of the folders, but G is this one right here, okay? So every one of the folders has that. Remember, the only one that's different in any of these folders is this piece right here, okay? So piece G is 3 5/8 by 4 1/8. Put it with the 3 5/8 at the top. Score it at 1/2, okay? So this is for the September piece, or September folio. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and I'm going to leave my Post-it notes on there so that I keep track because of those 3 different pieces. I'm just going to keep those on there. Make sure that I try to keep everything nice and organized, okay? And you're just going to fold that and burnish it on the score lines. Then we'll open this up, and this is where I'm going to actually use this and my ruler because we're going to need to line things up, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is grab our B pieces. These are the large flaps, and get your scissors. We'll go ahead and miter the 1/2 inch piece. And if you cut it all the way through, that really helps. And then we'll go ahead and fold and burnish those. One will go on the left side and one will go on the right. Okay, and all 12 folders will be made this way, except for that one piece. So it's really pretty easy. If you get them all cut, you can kind of get an assembly line going. Okay, so one will go on one side, one will go on the other. So let me show you how to measure this up. So these are 7 inches tall, the folder is. So I'm going to line this up. The midpoint from the center is 3 1/2. Now these are 6 1/8, okay? So they're not going to quite line up to 3 inches. Now if you did decide to do that, that is fine. Probably no one will ever notice, but if you want to get it as perfectly centered as possible, when you line this up to glue it, with the tab here on the edge here, you want to go just past the 3-inch mark from the center, okay? So the 3-inch mark is here. So you want the bottom of that flap to line up between 3 and 3 1/8, okay? So like at 3 1/16 is what you want. So that'll kind of line that up as perfectly as absolutely possible. So I'm going to put the glue on the flap, and I'm going to make sure that's lined up to 3.5. And then I'm going to put that down just like that and burnish that down. And I'm going to grab my little rag here. I forgot to get that. I always forget to get that. I'm going to open it up and just make sure it's nice and glued down. Okay. All right. So that first flap is on. Okay. And then while we have this out, we can glue the other one on. And I'm just going to move this over because it's going to end up being upside down. So we got one on each side. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line it up. So centering that at 3.5. We'll get our glue. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I try really, really hard to make sure that everybody can understand everything. And if you have questions, I'm more than happy to help. And, you know, I do check frequently. But I might not get back to you instantaneously, but I do try really hard to check multiple times a day on any of my messages on, you know, YouTube, Facebook, anything like that. So I'm not, you know, I do try really hard to get back to you as soon as I absolutely possibly can. All right, so then the next piece we're going to do is the pocket. That's going to go on the inside. I am going to take this one off for just a second. And what you're going to do with your pocket is we're going to miter the 1/2 inch, and then we're going to cut sharply through the corners just to get rid of that bulk. So we're going to go roughly at a 45-degree angle and just really cut that pretty angled, okay? And then we'll fold and burnish. Like so. Okay, and then we will go ahead and we're going to glue that pocket down. I'm not going to do the tape trick because I'm going to just cut my papers to go inside and just take care of all of these tabs, just go over everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue all of this down. Do dry fit and make sure that it fits in between the scores and the end there, but it should fit perfectly. I haven't had any troubles with this at all, but do dry fit and make sure. And then just glue that down right to the edge. Okay, like so. So now I have a pocket. This will fold over my pocket. Okay, everything looks like it's fitting nice. Now this is the G piece, and I'm going to turn this around just because it's going to go on the other side. So the G piece, we're going to miter. I should have mitered. And then we'll fold and burnish. Okay, so the pocket goes under the one to the left. The G piece is going to go to the inside of that right flap, okay? So again, what we're going to do is line this up now. This is 6 1/8, so we're going to line that up, and the center point is going to be at like 3 1/16 from the center, and our piece here is 4 1/8, so it's going to go again just past that 2-inch mark, okay? So it's going to be about 2 1/16 from that center, okay, to get it nice and centered. Now, if you don't want to center it, again, you don't have to. You can put it anywhere you want. I just decided to center it. So, we got that, like so. All right, gluing that down. All right, and then that is the base piece. That's how every folder will be made to start, okay? But then we've got that little piece that we're going to add in there. September is piece F, which is the 4 5/8 by 3 1/8. And again, you're going to need 4 of these total for March, June, September, and December. So I'm going to miter again on that 1/2 inch tab. okay? And I'm gonna fold and burnish. Now this one is 3 1/8. So when we line this up, we're going to go again to the spine here. We're gonna line it up against that spine, so the right side of this folder. And then this will go just past 1.5 inches, okay? So it'll be a 1/16 inch past an 1.5 inches from the center. Does that make sense? Getting myself tongue-tied. I've been working on this tutorial for 2 days, trying to get everything prepped as much as I possibly can so that, you know, everything can be videoed and I can get this done for you. So I'm going to just line that up right to the edge of that score. I'm not going to go past that score. I'm just going to go right to the edge. Burnish that down. Make sure you don't have any glue squishing out where you don't want it. Okay. All right. And voila. September is done. So again, September is piece F. Okay. So there's that. September is done. Here is that little, let's go ahead and just put that on the pocket for now, just so we have it. Okay. So you should have a folder, a flap, pocket, another flap, and then a third flap, and then you have another little flap. And again, these are measured because of the cut aparts. So I wanted to make sure everything fit and I was able to use everything. All right, so let's go to October then. So October has already been done. We just need to add that piece that's extra, okay? So the October piece is piece D, and that will be for January, April, July, and October. It is 4 5/8 by 4 1/8, and you put it in your scoreboard with the 4 5/8 at the top and score it at 1/2 inch, okay? So what that's going to give you is a 4 1/8 by 4 1/8 page for your cut apart and your photo mount, okay? So again, what we're going to do is line that up. We've got the score line from the spine here. This is the inside right of the folder. I'm going to line that up at 3 1/2 from the center point. Okay. Put my glue on. This is 4 1/8, so it's going to go just past the 2-inch mark. Get that. There we, oops. Nope, I moved it. Okay. There we go. Okay, and again, if it's off a little bit, I don't think anybody's going to know. And like I said, you can alter these. You could put this one up here, this one down here. You can do whatever you want, okay? You can just make it your own, okay? So that piece is done. Now October is done. So September and October are done. And then November. So November is piece E. You need 4 of these for February, May, August, and November. 3 5/8 by 4 1/8. And I didn't show on the last one, but we're just going to score one time at 1/2 inch. So you're going to put it in your scoreboard. You're going to score it at 1/2 inch on the 3 5/8. Okay. And that is going to make the portrait size of the little flap. Okay. Then I'm going to show you how to cut that paper. Okay. All right. So we've got that. And we'll open up November. That's the E piece. It's going to go on the inside right spine. And again, we're going to line it up. That's all we're going to do. So that is that. Again, yeah, I designed this because of the cut aparts. I had the pattern paper with the cut aparts. And I know you guys have seen my haul video. And I had a package of the calendar cards. And that was that. Okay, so this is 4 1/8. So it's just past 2 inches. 2 1/16, that's where the center point is. To line that up. And so I really wanted to be strategic with this when I did it. Okay, so November is now done. Okay, so this is fall. So now I'm going to show you, when I show you how to cut the papers, it's what I did for every season. Okay, so let me show you. Let me grab the papers for you. So I divided all of my papers up into the seasons, okay? So let me show you here. So this is the cut apart page that I was talking about. It goes September, October, November, okay? So all of the seasons have the cut apart page that looks like this. So what I ended up doing was figuring out strategically what I wanted where, okay? I do have a couple pieces left over, and those are going to be for decorations, okay? So for each of your seasons, which is 3 folders, you need 1 of the cut apart sheets. You will need 3 coordinating solids. So I did get a pack of coordinating solids. So they have a pattern on one side, and then they have the solid on the back. So you'll need 1 each for each of the folios. They will cover the covers inside and out, and I'm going to show you how to do the pinwheel cut with these, okay? So you need 3 of those. 1 of the floral papers, it looks like that on the back side. 1 of the floral papers will be cut into 4x6 pieces, and 2 of each of these floral patterns will go in each of the books. And then the back of the floral we're going to use for the pockets and the spines, okay? So that's what you need for the pattern paper. I also have the September cards. Now, whoops, I got them. I've got 2 of them. The September cards, well, all of the cards. There's 2 of each of these in the pack. So I'm going to use the calendar for 1, and then the cut apart here for the other one. I am cutting off that white border. I did not like it, so I'm cutting those off of all of the pieces. So we have the October, and then we have my November, which is hiding back there. Okay, and those will go in strategic places as well. So you need 2 of each of these for each of the folders, okay? Then I did get my coordinating cardstock. Now I've got ecru, which is on the December book. Not on the December book, on the January book, sorry. The January book got the ecru, January and February. So what I ended up doing, and again, this will all be written down too, is I had 12 by 12 papers. So I took the ecru paper, just like I took the gold, okay? This is the gold zinnia, I think it was called. And I cut it into 2 strips that were 12 by 6, okay? And then you can see that this one goes for September, this one goes for October. I took the green one, and this one was November, and then the other part was December. So what I did was I cut them, then I stacked them, so 2 ecrus, 2 golds, 2 greens, and then 2 ecrus, 2 golds, 2 greens, and then that ended up being January and February ecru. March, April was yellow. May, June was green. July, August was again ecru. September, October was gold. November, December was green. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But then we're going to cut these to fit each of the months. So each month needs 1 sheet of the cardstock, okay? So 6 by 12, 1 sheet per folio. And then I think that does it. And then what we're going to, so I'm going to show you how to cut all these up, and then I'll show you how they're going to go on the folios, and then I'll go ahead and finish those folios, and then we're going to work on our box, okay? With all of this, if you cut it the way I cut it, you will end up with each of the seasons. Each season will have 2 pieces left over, okay? You'll have 1 cut apart page left over, and then you'll have 1 of the coordinating solids left over. We need to use these for the box that I'm going to put them in, okay? So you will have 8 sheets left over if you have as many sheets as I did, okay? So let's go ahead and let's start with our pattern paper first, and grab our cutter again. Now, for the coordinating solids, these are going to end up being on the covers. So you're going to grab your cutter, and we're going to do that pinwheel cut again, but this one's going to be a little bit different measurement. So we want the papers to be 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. If you add those two numbers together, you get 11 3/4 by 11 3/4. So we need to trim our papers, okay? So I'm going to line this up at 11 3/4 and cut that little 1/4 inch off, and then I'm going to turn it and do the same thing, okay? So that'll cut off the branding strip and that top, or that side, okay? I'm going to put this off to the side for just a second. So we want our papers to be 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. So what I'm going to do is put it in my cutter. I'm going to line it up at 4 7/8. Okay, make sure everything's nice and straight. 4 7/8. Get my fingers to work. And then I'm going to pull this down to 6 7/8. So go slow and be careful. 6 7/8 and stop. Then turn it, and I'm turning it counterclockwise, okay, so to the left. Now, if you kept this in the proper position, you should be able to go back up because you haven't moved it from that spot, okay? Piece number 1. Open that up, turn it 4 7/8. Piece number 2. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use the solids on one side, okay? And then we're going to use the print on the for the other. So we're going to use the print side of this solid, and I'm turning it so that I can line this up to 4 7/8, right? Okay, here's piece number 3, and then piece number 4. So these will be on the inside of our folios, and this will be on the outside of the folio, okay? So there is one piece. This is all you have left over. And if you do it, then you get all 4 pieces out of one piece of paper. Isn't that cool? So we can keep those. Those can be extra. So I will do this one more time just to show you. So this one will be for September. And you'll notice that I have this one and then this one too, okay? So I want to use this one for October and then this one for November, okay? So September, October, November. So I'm trying to alternate the patterns a little bit. So we'll do this one next. So again, we're going to line that up at 11 3/4. Cut it. Knock things over. Because I gotta do that once in a while, right? And then 11 3/4. Here we go. 11 3/4. Okay, so here we go. So now this one has a pattern. So when we cut this, we're going to just make sure we have the right orientation for the outside of our folios, meaning that we want it upright, okay? So this one will be for a cover. We're going to cut down to 6 7/8. Lift it up. Be careful. Turn it. 4 7/8. Now we can put that down. If it's easier for you to just start at the top and work your way down, you can do that too. Now you can see this one is landscape. We don't want that, so we're going to use that side, okay? Then we're going to turn it 4 7/8. This one is the correct orientation. It's portrait, so we're going to use that side. We're going to turn it again 4 7/8. Okay, and that one's landscape, so we want to use that side of it for the inside. And then here's your 4th piece, and this will turn out landscape. Okay, so once you get, well, I'll do the other one and then I'll come back. How's that? I'll do the other one and then I'll come back. And what I'm going to do is, as I'm cutting my pieces, I've got my folders, so I'm going to use them kind of like a file. I know this one's going to be for September, so I'm just going to put it in my September folio and keep it there. This one's going to be for October, so I'm going to find my October folio and put it in there. This one will be for November. So when I get done, I'll pop that into my folder, okay? So I'll do this one and then I'll come back. We'll move on to the next step. So this floral piece, we're going to cut into 4 by 6 pieces, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to trim off that branding strip. So I'm just going to line that up and trim that off. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is trim it at 6 inches. And I want to make sure the direction is proper, okay? So my flowers are going this way, so I want the 6 inches to be upright, okay? All right. And then trim that into 4 pieces, or 3 pieces at 4 inches. That's what I should have said, okay? So 2 of these per month, okay? And we're going to use the floral side. All right, so that's how you cut that paper. And we used all of it, okay? So one, here's my little folder. So one for September, one for October, and then one for December, or November, excuse me. I'm getting tongue-tied. Okay, so we got those pieces cut. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, this is the back of the floral paper. We're going to use this for pockets. So what I ended up doing with this, I'm going to use this for the pockets and I'm going to use it for the spines. So what you're going to need to do is take this, and from the bottom, I am cutting a strip at 2 3/8 inches, okay? So from the bottom, here's my branding strip is here at the top on the right-hand side. I'm just going to cut that at 2 3/8. I need 2 of those, okay? Make sure that's nice and straight, 2 3/8. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take one of those and cut them into 2 pieces that are 4 7/8. Those are for pockets, so 4 7/8 by 2 3/8. Pocket 1, we need 3 of these. There's pocket 2, here's a little leftover piece, and then we've got pocket 3 here, okay? All right, so 1 in each of those. And then what we're gonna do is take the back side of this, the floral side, we're gonna use that for the spines. So what we need to do is trim this to 6 7/8. We're just gonna cut that little tiny piece off. And then we're going to trim that into 6 pieces at 3/8 inch, okay? 2 for each folder. And that takes care of that. And these are such skinny strips that, you know, even though we did cut it sideways, it's not gonna matter a whole lot. You're not gonna really notice that. And then we ended up, not only do we have the 2 pieces, the 2 large sheets available left over for decoration and whatnot, we also have a large section of the floral sheet left over. So this works out pretty good, all right? And then this piece, we're gonna cut a little teeny tiny sliver off of it, so you have to be super careful. Make sure you hold that down and just go slow so it doesn't fly around. But we do have extra floral paper if we need it, so that's left over from that. All right, so we have these, okay? So let's take these and we're going to, again, grab our folders. So I'm gonna put 2 in September and then a pocket in September. And then we've got October, we need 2 of those in October and a pocket. And then we need 2 of them in November. Okay, then what we need to do is get that cut apart sheet. All right, I'm sorry, one more thing to do. I'm gonna just grab this cutter right now. So we need to cut our cardstock down to make the photo mats for our pages. So again, each of the months gets a 6 by 12, and we're gonna cut them down. Now, we have to be aware of the D piece, the E piece, and the F piece, okay? The D piece needs to be 4 by 4. The E and F pieces need to be 3 by 4, okay? So what you're going to do is for each of these pieces, September, we have to make sure we got the right thing. So I'm going to look at my September, and this is why I use sticky notes and made sure that I had all my pieces in order. So I know that this one needs a 3 by 4 piece for the F piece. So what we're going to first do is we need 1 4 by 6. So that's the first cut. Everyone gets a 4 by 6. Then we're going to cut it again at 4 by 6. And then we're going to turn that and cut it into 2 3x4 pieces. So every folder needs 2 3x4 pieces. And this last piece is where we're going to get that D, E, or F piece. So D needs to be 4x4, E and F need to be 3x4. So September uses that F piece because of that special way we're going to use the cut-aparts. So we need a 3x4 piece. So I'm just going to take this leftover piece, cut it at 3x4. We need one of those. The other one is extra. So I'm going to put that in my extra pile. So we do have one little extra piece. Okay. That is for September. And that's going to go in here. October needs the D piece. The D piece is 4x4. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off the same way of our October pieces. We're going to open this up. We're going to cut this to a 4x6. Because remember, every folder needs one of those. We're going to cut again at 4x6 and turn it and turn that into 2 3x4s. Because every folder needs 2 of these. Then this is where this extra piece, the D piece, this one needs the 4x4. So instead of cutting this at 3x4, we're going to cut it at 4x4. Okay. All right, this is our extra piece. This is the piece we need. That's going to go in the D pile, or in the October pile, okay, for the D pile. So that goes into that folder. And then November is the E piece. And again, that's going to be a 3x4 piece, okay? So we're going to cut that the same. And this one, this particular one has a branding strip. So I'm going to leave that to the right side. We're just going to work this direction. Okay, so again, a 4x6. I'm going to cut this at 4 inches. And then again at 3. 2 of these and one 4x6. And then this one needs to be a 3x4. So I'm going to trim that, and I'll trim off that branding strip. And there you go. Okay. Extra piece. All right. So that goes into the November folio. All right. And then last, I guess, but not least, we need to trim the cut-aparts, okay? So how I ended up doing these was the top cut-aparts, you have a 4x4, a 3x4, and then a 4x3. So D, E, F. So that's how I did it. So when you lay out the months and you go D, E, F, D, E, F, that's how it lines up. And I know it looks odd because it says October, November, and September's over here. But remember, winter had January, February, and then December. Okay, so that's kind of why that's that. So that's why I wanted to kind of, you know, put the Post-it notes out here so you could see it. So this is D. Let me write that down for you so you have that. D is this 4x4. E is the 3x4. F is the 4x3, okay? And then we have a pocket, so we need something for the pocket. So what I ended up doing was there is a 4x6 cut apart here. That's going to go into the October pocket. In the November pocket is this 6x4 that goes into the November pocket. So again, like the E folder, this one would be in the D folder, and in the September pocket that would be in like the E folder. I hope this makes sense. The September one's going to get both of these 2 smaller ones, okay? So instead of a big one, it'll have 2 smaller ones. So there's some extra pieces that I'm using for decoration. So I wanted to kind of show you how I cut this all out. The first thing I'm going to do is cut off the border strips and put those off to the side. So I'm just going to take my, you can do this in your cutter if you want, but we're going to have to kind of do some fiddly cutting, and I want to make sure that I don't goof it up. So I'm just going to use my scissors, cut off all of those border strips, and put those off to the side. for decoration. And then I'm going to cut off this border strip as well. And that's going to go off to the side because that'll be for decoration as well. And I know this project is a little fiddly, but I was really trying hard to make sure that I could use all the pieces that I could possibly use into a really nice, meaningful project. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this branding strip off as well. And again, you could use your trimmer if you wanted to. I probably should have done that. It would have taken less time. Right? Okay. And then we're going to trim these out. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is go up this side. And you can kind of faintly see the lines. So if it's easier for you to measure, it does measure out to a 4-inch strip. Okay. And I can kind of see the lines, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that up. So you'll end up with the 4x4 and then the October piece for the pocket, okay? All right, so let's just keep that in order right now. Let's just do that. Then what we're going to do is you can cut this side out. And again, I can kind of see the faint line. And this is just going to go in the pocket, so I'm just going to cut that up and then turn it, and I'll cut that out. Okay, so we've got our November piece there. This is going to be September, so I'm going to cut straight up there. Okay, we'll cut those two apart. Okay, that's how that laid. So right now this is what we've got. Okay, the last piece we need to cut out is this one. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And you don't have to keep these things connected if you don't want to. I just did because I wanted to show you how to do it. Once you get this going, you get this assembly line going, it's really easy to do. And I did it while I was watching TV, so, you know, it worked out pretty good. Okay, so this is what we've got. Now this piece here, this is going to be for extra, for decoration and things like that. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and we've got all of our pieces here labeled. So October, we'll put that in our little October file. All right, September, we've got these right here. All right, and then November, we got that. All righty, then the very last thing is these pieces here, okay? So I will do one with you on camera, and then I'll do the rest off camera. But I just trimmed the white off. That's all I did. I just didn't like it. And there you go. I did ink all of my papers, okay? All of them got inked. So that was the other thing. Once I got all of these pieces like cut and put together in their little, you know, folios, in their little file folios, then I could just sit and ink. So that's another thing, you know, that I did while, you know, watching TV, because the inking was kind of, you know, you don't have to think about it too much. I just inked the edges. I did use, and I'll show you, my ink that I did get in a previous design team package. I have been using it a lot. I love it. It's a brown ink, and I think it's called, it's Espresso, and it's by Altnu, and it works amazing for inking your edges. And Country Craft Creations has like all sorts of colors, and I just love it. It works really good, and it does dry really fast. So cut that straight. There we go. Okay, so all of these pieces are going to need to have the little ends trimmed off, okay? If you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just wanted to, okay? So that'll go into September. And then what we're going to do, I'll show you how to put one of these together, and then I will do these off camera so you don't have to watch, because they're all going to be the same way to put them together now that we've got all of our pieces done, okay? Put those off to the side. This is September, okay? And I'm going to grab a bunch of paper clips so that I can show you how they're going to go. And then what I'm going to do is ink them, glue them on, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like, okay? So now I can take off my pieces, okay? Let's grab all of our parts, all right? So here are the big pieces that are going to go on the front and back cover, okay? So we've got one for the front cover, one for the back cover. I'm just going to pin those on so you can see how it's going to go, okay? So front cover, back cover. And these two are going to go inside. So if we open this up, this one will go front cover and back cover, okay, on the inside. And that one's going to tuck in the pocket. And if it is a little bit tight, and remember I got to take this out because I got to ink it too. You can trim off a wee bit of that, which I might have to do on this one. Oh, maybe not. It's a little tight, but it'll go in. That's going to go in the pocket. And then on the front cover is where we're going to put our calendar, okay? So on the front cover, that's where our calendar piece is going to go. That's what I did. And then when you open it up, that second piece is going to go right there, okay? So that's where that's going to go on that inside cover. And then we have the floral piece here. One of them is going to go there on the front of that flap on the left side. And then the other floral piece is going to go back here on that piece, okay? So far, so good. Here's our pocket piece, which is going to go right there. So I'm just going to pop that into the pocket right there. And then, of course, your spines. You're going to have one on the inside, one on the outside. Now, I chose, again, to do the florals because I thought it was really pretty. And it also kind of broke up all of the kind of solid colors, okay? So I'm just going to put both of those right there for now. But one's going to go, of course, inside, one's going to go outside. And then we have our little photo mats, right? So one, the big 4x6 one will go here. You have your two little ones here that are going to go on this pocket, or on this flap right here. So one on each side. Okay. And then you have this piece here. So remember that cut apart we took off? That one's going to go on the front here. And then the other photo mat will go back here. It's like a puzzle, isn't it? I love it. So that'll fold over like so. Okay, we've got our pocket here. Here's what that's going to look like. And then we have our two little cut aparts here that we're going to put in that pocket. So what I ended up doing with these is I didn't like that green border, so I'm going to trim this one off. That'll go in that pocket. And then this one here, I just trimmed off that green edge. And this isn't, you know, it has a kind of a flat top to that tag. So just watch that. It doesn't come to a point. It has a flat top, right? Okay. And then that goes like so. And then like that. All right. So that's the little tag. So those two will go in the pockets. Here's my little spine pieces, and that'll fold like that. And then this will fold over like that. And that is how these pieces go together. So I will show you on these, and then of course I'll ink and everything later. Okay. So we've got our pieces. I just want you to make sure that you see this. And, you know, you can fast forward through this if you don't want to watch all this, if you got it already. But I want to show you again. So we've got our front and back covers. So that is the coordinating solids with the pattern on the outside. Okay. On the inside is where we're going to put, I'm just going to clip it there, make it a little bit easier on the inside. So the solids on the inside. We have our floral here. So floral goes on this side. And then we have the floral that goes on the back of this. Like so. Here's the pocket for our pocket piece. Okay, we'll put that there. We've got our 2 spine pieces that we cut out of the florals. And I just think that breaks it up. I think it looks really good. Okay. We have our 4x6 cut apart that goes back here. Or not cut apart. Photo mat. Photo mat. Then we have November piece E. That'll go here, right? And then we have the 3x4 mat that goes on the back. Look how pretty that is. You guys, I am loving this project so much. I love it. Okay. And then we have the piece for the November pocket. So that one big cut apart. So that'll go in here. And then we have our 2 calendars. Now again, I'm going to cut that white part off. This one will end up on this page. And this one will be on the front. Okay. So that's November. One more time, let's do October. I don't know how I got these out of order, but I did. I don't know. My craft room, I'm telling you what, it's kind of a mess. All right, so front and back, like so. So isn't it kind of cool how you can get all your pieces like cut and ready to go and put them in their little file folder, and then you can just kind of, you know, put them together. I think it's kind of cool. I like that. I like that all of these are the same. You know, but they all have different looks because of the different like cut aparts, and I don't know. I just think it's fun. And then you can put in your, you know, your favorite pictures. Now, D piece here. Okay, so this was the 4x4 piece that we cut out of the cardstock. So that'll go on the back of that, like so. We've got our 2 little 3x4s here. Like so. Did I lose one? Here we go. All right. Here's the other 4x6. That goes here. This goes in the pocket. So this is the 4x6 cut apart out of the pattern paper. That's going to go in that pocket. The 4x4 cut apart will go on that flap. Okay, that'll fold over like that. We've got the calendar, and then we've got the other side of it. So that'll go like that, right? And then that'll fold over, and this is going to go in the front cover. Okay. All right. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So we've got November, October, and September. So you can see this is fall, 3 months of fall. And these 2 have the same paper, and this one is different. And again, I just, because I'll show you, I had June, July, and August. So hope you can see that. So I use the floral papers on these 2. So August and September are going to be next to each other. So that's why I went floral, pattern, floral, pattern. Hope that makes sense too. So that was kind of one of the other methods to my madness with this. Okay. So we have these 3, and now we have these. So next step is inking, cutting these off and inking, gluing everything down. We've got everything laid out to where we want it. So this will be the front cover, and then the decoration here. And then you open it up, you have this flap with the photo mat, the pocket with the inserts that are going to be in there. You have this flap with the photo mat flap. You have the cut apart with the photo mat, and then you have the back page where you could put a nice giant picture. And then you also have your two little spine pieces in there. So it's all ready to go. So you can turn on your favorite show and ink and glue everything down where they belong, and that's what I'm going to do now. So this does take a little time, so I'm not going to show you how all that goes on camera, but I'll do that, and then I'll come back and you can see the finished product. All right, we're going to start working on our box, and I've got a few pieces done and a few pieces that I'm going to show you how to make, and so this will all make sense in just a minute. So these are the sides of the box, so the left and right side of the box, and you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 4.5 by 7, and then you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock like this that are 9 1/8 by 6 5/8. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to put that chipboard, or excuse me, that cardstock in your scoreboard, both of them. I've already prepared one, and you're going to score it at 1 inch on all 4 sides. Okay, 1 inch on all 4 sides. And then what you're going to notice when you put your chipboard down, and I've put some score tape on there, is when you put that in between all those score lines, you're going to have about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around, and that'll help when we fold up our box and make sure everything has enough room to fit together. Okay, so we do want that, so that's why it's 6 5/8 inch. So then once you get that done, then you're going to grab your scissors, and we're going to miter out these boxes here. Okay, the corners, and I'm doing kind of a slight miter. Okay, so we're just slight mitering the corners out of all 4 sides. All right, and then this is going to wrap around your chipboard and cover everything up. Now let's get rid of this scoreboard for just a second. Let's burnish these score lines. Let's go ahead and fold those over and burnish like so. And then I'm going to show you another thing. So on my chipboard, before I did anything to these pieces, what I ended up doing was the piece that's going to stick out and not get covered by those tabs, I put another piece of black cardstock on there. So there's a couple reasons I did this. Just in case my miters get cut too wide and the chipboard shows and all that stuff, I wanted to make sure that was covered up. But also because this is a lightweight chipboard, I wanted to make sure that it had enough strength. So I put an extra piece of black artisan cardstock on the side that's going to not get adhered down. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I did. That was my preference. But again, like I said, it's going to give this lightweight chipboard a little bit more strength. Okay, so then I used some score tape, and then I'm going to just put a little squiggle of glue in between the score tape, and then I'm going to lay this down. And remember, you're going to have about a 1/16 of an inch of space around all 4 sides to fit inside those score lines. Okay, so just be careful with that. All right, so I'm just going to burnish that down, and then I'm going to grab my score tape again, and I'm going to run it around, and I'm going to do it like I was going to wrap a book, but I'm going to leave one of these out. So one of the long sides I'm not going to adhere down yet. Okay, so we're just going to do 3 sides around for the sides of this box, because we have to attach it to the bottom of the box. That's why we're going to leave one out, and I'm not going to put any score tape on there, so that'll also help give me the little hint that I don't want to stick it down. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to stick the sides in first. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that is because then when I push this one down, the top edge will be nice and rounded, and it'll look pretty. Okay, so there are the 2 sides to my box, and eventually this is going to adhere here. Okay, This is the bottom of the box. We haven't talked about this one yet. So let's put the sides together and let's talk about the bottom of the box. So basically what I did was the same thing I did with this, except for I did all 4 sides, okay? So for the bottom of the box, you do need a 5.5 by 7 piece of chipboard. You need cardstock to wrap it. That is 7 5/8 by 9 1/8. And I did cover the chipboard, the one side that's going to stick up with the black artisan cardstock, and I did use scraps. Now all of these I did use scraps, and that's the other thing I wanted to tell you. So when we cut out our folios and we cut out that 7 by 12 inch strip to make our folio base, there were a 5 by 12 scraps left over with all of those. You had 12 of those. That's what I used to cover these chipboard pieces. So it worked out really well to use my scraps up for that. So then again, you score your cardstock 1 inch on each side, cut your corners out, do the miter, and then adhere your chipboard to your wrap and then wrap it around. So this is the bottom. Again, this piece is 5.5 by 7. The cardstock to wrap it is 7 5/8 by 9 1/8. Okay, so there's the bottom. Then we have our 2 sides. Now, I did one of the sides already, and the other one, what we're going to do is something a little bit different. So I'm going to put that off to the side for just a second. So the chipboard for the front and the back, you'll need 2 pieces that are 4.5 by 5.5, okay? So actually, yeah, 5.5 by 4.5, because you want, this is going to be the front and the back, okay? And I should have written that the other direction, so I apologize for that. The cardstock to wrap this with, so the pieces that'll wrap around and that you glue that chipboard down to, is 7 5/8 by 6 5/8, okay? So, for example, we have our chipboard piece here, and just kind of ignore this part for a minute. Here is our, that's not it. Okay, so here's the cardstock. So again, I put it in the scoreboard and I scored it 1 inch all the way around, and then we need to cut that out yet. But then that's what the chipboard went in. I hope that makes sense. So I hope that makes sense. So 2 pieces of cardstock, 7 5/8 by 6 5/8, and that's where the 1 inch around all 4 sides are going to be. And then you'll put your chipboard in there that is actually 5.5 by 4.5. I wrote it backwards and I apologize for that. Stick it down, but only adhere this top one. Do not adhere the bottom tabs yet, okay? So then prepare the second one. We're going to do the same thing. So again, we're going to do a slight miter, and just cutting all 4 of those out. And by a slight miter, I mean like about 1/8 of an inch, no more. You don't have to go super sharp, okay? Then let's do this one, because you need all 4 of them done, right? And then we'll move on to the next step. So we have to do the front of the box. Now the front of the box, I want to put an acetate window in there, and I have it measured out. I think it's going to work out perfectly to where when we put one of our folios in the front of the box, the Celebrate August, for example, will show through that front window, and then we're going to decorate that around. So that's my plan. So you need another piece of chipboard that's 5.5 by 4.5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to measure in 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. We're going to need to cut that window out. So before we cut this out, I'm going to cover this back side with a piece of my scrap here. And we're going to make sure that that chipboard is covered up, and then again, give it strength, because you can see it's lightweight. So I just want to give it a little bit more strength. Now I did put the score tape on the edges only, because then that way, if you want, you can save this piece for something else and save the inside piece of this cardstock for something else, okay? So I'm just going to get this covered. I'm just putting a little bit of glue in between the score tape, and I'm going to glue that down. That's going to go like this, and then you can get your blade of choice and then just trim this around. And this is how I did, you know, all of the pieces when I covered them. I didn't try to cut the cardstock to fit. I just glued it down and then trimmed it, okay? Like so. Okay, get those little pieces out of the way. Make sure that you cut all the way through, and then that's covered, okay? Then what you're going to want to do is grab, I'm going to get a heavier duty X-Acto knife here, and I'm going to get my ruler, and what you're going to do is just cut this out. You just need to go slow and be careful, and you don't have to cut through the whole thing in the first pass. You can make a couple passes and cut that out, all right? Now, if you want to, you can use your trimmer, but I don't want to dull my blades too much. There we go. Now, if you want to freehand it as well, since you drew the lines, you can do it that way too. Whichever way is easier for you to do. Okay, so I'm just doing some light passes to start, and then you can get deeper and deeper. Just be careful. Okay, like so. Then you can turn it around and cut this out. So you're going to have a 3/4 inch frame. Okay, one more. Okay, now hopefully you can check the other side. You can go in, just kind of make sure. Now with that paper that we're going to use to help wrap, and then also to attach, it's going to cover the edges of that chipboard on the inside frame, okay? There we go. I'm just going to pop those out. And there you go. So that's why I didn't put adhesive on all of the pieces, so you could save this for another piece of something later, okay? So I'm going to get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is grab my piece here. I'm going to go around all 4 sides. Okay, and we're going to glue this down to here, okay? So this will be the inside again, and then this is going to be the outside. Now, one of the things we're going to need to do, this is going to be the same as this, so we're going to glue this piece down. But this is 1 inch, this is 3/4 of an inch, so we are going to have to trim that a little bit. So grab your cutter and just trim off a little bit. You can go to 3/4 of an inch if you want. All right, so I'm just lining up my score to my 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to cut off a little sliver, and then that way it won't go past my frame, because I don't want that, okay? Like so, okay? So I'm just going to use glue on this one. Just because I feel like it, okay? And we're going to glue that right into the middle, and make sure you've got your trimmed piece at the top, because we want the sides and the bottom to stick out for attaching, okay? All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my finer knife again, and I'm going to go from corner to corner, and inside that frame, I'm just going to cut like so, okay? So corner to corner. And cut, okay? Now what that's going to do is it's going to give us an area where we can fold this over, and it'll wrap around those raw chipboard pieces, and then that will help cover that and make it nice and pretty, okay? Okay, so we've cut, and you can see these are going to fold up, and these are going to cover these edges here, okay? Now they are going to need to be trimmed, So here's where we can just take a pair of scissors and we can trim these up so that they don't go past, you know, your chipboard. So we're going to do that. We're going to fold those over. Use your bone folder. That might help to go inside and kind of fold those over. Okay. And then you can just go in with your scissors, and I'm just kind of running right up against the edge of that chipboard and just trimming those off. Okay. Like that. If I can get my fingers to work, that is. I'm having issues today with lots of things. All right. Okay. I'm going to go in and trim that up using my chipboard as a guide. Okay. Last piece. Okay, so then what that's going to do, not only is it going to give that frame a little more stability, but when you look at it from this side, you're going to have a nice finished edge around your frame, okay? And then you can just kind of smooth out those corners. We're going to glue it down. All right, so I'm going to take some glue. Do that. And glue that down. Get glue all over the place. Because that's what I do. And, all right. Okay. And this is going to be the inside, and we will make a frame of pattern paper to cover it. So don't worry about that, because we are going to add the acetate to finish that up. Okay. Okay, one more. Okay, and then I can see my chipboard here has a little teeny tiny place here where it's kind of sticking up. So what I'm going to do is just put a little glue here, and I'm going to wrap that around and glue that down. Okay. Okay. So before we fold this down and glue it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my acetate on. So let's make sure that this top section doesn't go past my frame, and it doesn't. Okay, and then I have this piece of acetate. Now let me show you. This acetate I did get in a previous design team package. It's the Craft Perfect by Tonic Studios heavyweight acetate. So I did use that. And again, I did get that from a previous design team package, and I cut it at 5 1/4 by 4 1/4, okay? Because I want it to go inside that frame just a little bitty bit, okay? And I put some score tape on the one side, and I'm gonna take that off. And I should use my pokey tool. That would be smarter, wouldn't it? And then I'm gonna lay that down. So you should have about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and that's just going to be a window. We're not making a shaker, okay? This is just going to be a window, okay? Like so. Okay. And then let's go ahead and grab that film so you see how pretty it is now. And that is going to be the front of your box, okay? Like so, okay? All right, so then what we can do is go ahead and put some score tape on here and glue that top edge down. Or adhere that top edge down, I should say. Okay. And then that nice edge at the top is nice and covered up, okay? You won't have any acetate showing. It'll be a nice rounded edge. All right. Okay, so then what we need to do is put this bad boy together. Get this out of the way. So we have our back, and here's our front. We have our inside here, and then we have our sides here. Okay, so basically, let's go ahead and take off all of these notes here. All of the measurements are in the description of the video, so don't worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to glue everything down, and we're going to do it like we're going to do like a lay flat cover method. We're just going to glue those tabs to the inside. Okay, so we're going to glue those all the way around. This will be the bottom. It'll be nice and smooth. You do not have to put pattern paper on the bottom because nobody's going to see the underneath of the box. So this will be the inside of the box. Okay, so we're going to take our tabs and we're going to just glue those right there. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and just glue to the bottom of the box. And I'm going to do it this way so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go right to that score line and glue that down, okay? And that's going to fold up like that, and it'll be nice and beautiful and perfect. Let me grab my bone folder, I can turn that around and burnish that down, okay? All right, let's do the other side. Where did it go? It went here. All right, so that's going to go like that again. This is the back side. And then before we actually put it all together, we're going to put as much pattern paper on as we possibly can before we create the box. And then that way we can keep it as flat as long as possible, and that'll help us, okay? Especially with doing the frame, okay? So now we've got the front and the back. We need to do the side. So I'm going to, again, turn that over. I'm going to have our bottom piece here. Okay. I'm going right to that score line. And again, it's going to fold up like that. It's going to look perfect. Going to get Post-it notes all over everything. Okay, like so. All right, last one we're going to do on this side. Okay, so we're on the outside of our box. Okay. Lay that down. Burnish that down, and then here you go. So let's grab some clips and I'll show you what my vision was. So this is going to go up, and those will glue to the inside. All right, so these will glue to the inside. Those are all going to get covered with pattern paper, right? So here's that, here's this. We're going to have our feet on the bottom of the box, and that's what that's going to look like. And then when you put your folio in, that's what's going to show through the cover or through the front of the box. So that was my idea. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here and grab some papers and get everything ready for the next step, and then I will come back and we will finish up our box. We're back, and I've got some things ready, and I wanted to show you a few things, talk you through a few things. This is the outside of the box. We still haven't put it together yet because I want to do as much flat as I possibly can. So outside of the box, bottom of the box is going to remain just with the black artisan cardstock. I'm not going to put pattern paper on there because nobody's going to see it. So I did put pattern paper on the sides, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to frame the front. So when I got the folios done, I had 2 sheets of the coordinating solid pattern papers left over from each of the seasons. So I used a couple of those. I used the green, I used this blue with the pretty pattern here, and then I used the floral from the summer collection on the outside of the box. So for these, I went ahead and wrote down the measurements. We'll go through them. So for the green mat, I cut those for the front and the back. 2 of them at 5 3/8 by 4 3/8. One of those we're going to make a frame to put on the front. And then 2 that are 6 7/8 by 4 3/8. And those are going to be for the long sides. And then the blue, I cut 1 because we only need 1 for the back piece of the box, because I'm not going to do an extra layer around that frame. So you need 1 that's 5 1/8 by 4 1/8. And then you need 2 that are 6 5/8 by 4 1/8. And those are going to be for the 2 sides. Now, before I get onto the floral, I want to talk about how I cut those. So you remember when I showed you at the beginning, when we were looking at the folios, and we did the pinwheel cuts to get 4 pieces out of 1 piece of paper? So that's what I did with the green. I had a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and I trimmed it down to 11 1/4 by 11 1/4. And then what I did was I did 4 pieces that are 6 7/8 by 4 3/8, because those are the bigger sizes. If you add 6 7/8 and 4 3/8, you get 11 1/4 and 11 1/4. So that's why I trimmed the 12 by 12 down. This is the same thing I did for the folios. Okay, just a little bit different measurements. So anyways, after I trimmed and cut the 4 out, then I took the two of them and trimmed them from 6 7/8 to 5 3/8. And that's how I got all 4 pieces that I needed out of the green for the outside of the box. Okay. For the blue, I did the same thing, except for you only need 1 of those, and I kind of goofed that part up. But anyway, let's erase that and put 1 here. So for the blue paper here, I have the 12 by 12. Again, the bigger pieces I need were 6 5/8 by 4 1/8. And if you add those 2 together, you get the 10 3/4. So I trimmed the 12 by 12 blue paper, which is this one with the design here, to 10 3/4 by 10 3/4. And then I did the pinwheel cuts, just like I did for the folio, and cut 4 pieces that were 6 5/8 by 4 1/8. Okay, took 1 of those and trimmed it to 5 1/8 by 4 1/8, because you only need 1 of those smaller pieces for the back of your box. We're not going to do it here, just on the back. Okay, the smaller piece. So anyways, that's how I did that. So same type of pinwheel cuts. And then the floral papers, I just picked the ones I liked, and I had plenty to do this with 1 strip of paper. So I cut 1 piece for the back that was 4 5/8 by 3 5/8, and then 2 pieces, excuse me, for the sides that are 6 1/8 by 3 5/8. Okay, so that's how I did that. So you have mats that are basically an 1/8 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, and then you've got a nice 1/4 of an inch mat all the way around the florals, and I thought that looked really pretty. So that's how I cut the papers for the outside. Now let's talk about the frame for the outside. I'm going to put this off to the side for just a second. We did need 1 piece of that green, okay, and that green again was 5 3/8 by 4 3/8. And so this was kind of my test piece to make sure that it worked. I want to make a frame that is 5/8 of an inch. Okay, so you can do it a couple of different ways. You can draw around and measure in at 5/8 of an inch all the way around and then cut that out, or you can stick it in your trimmer and do that method. So if you do this method, again, you're going to just take your ruler, you're going to measure in 5/8, you're going to draw your lines, and then you're going to take your excuse me, your blade of choice and your ruler, and you can go around and do your cuts. Or what you can do is use your trimmer and put it in here. So we need that to be 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to line that up at 5/8 of an inch. Okay, and then you'll start at 5/8 of an inch down. I'm going to have to move a little bit to show you. And then that's where you start the cut. So I'm just looking at my ruler here and lining that up. And then you go down to the 5/8 inch mark from that bottom. Okay, so for this, if we look at this, it's 5 3/8 long. So you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to go down to 4 3/4 here. Okay, so start at 5/8 and cut to 4 3/4, and that'll cut that line. And then turn it around completely, line it up at 5/8 again, and then if you put that down without moving your cutter piece, then you can just slide that back up and go to 5/8 of an inch. Okay, lift it up gently, and then that's where you can turn it, and then put the short side down at 5/8 of an inch. Okay, make sure everything's good. And then we want to cut 5/8 of an inch from the bottom edge. So if we count up from 4 3/8, because that's how wide this is, we're at 1 2 3 4 5, we go to 3 3/4. Okay, so 3 3/4. All right, then you can turn it around, 3 3/4 up to the 5/8 inch mark. Okay, so that's how you can do that with your cutter. Then that piece is saved and you have your frame. So if we put this out of the way for a sec and grab a box, lay that down, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. Okay, so we center that. We're going to have a nice little border around, and that'll look like that. So I do need to take and ink the inside cut edge. And I'm just going to do the one mat on the front because it's going to get too fiddly with it, you know, going down in size for matting. So that's why I'm only going to do the one. It'll make it easier. So if you want to do that, you can do as many mats as you want, but I'm going to decorate over the top of this. That's my plan. So I'm just going to do the one. Now, the other thing, if you do not, you don't have to do this frame. Okay, you can make the front solid if you want to, so that choice is totally up to you. If you want to just, you know, forgo making that frame, just make it just like the back of the box. Okay, so I'm just inking around there, and then I'm going to grab my glue and I'm going to glue this down. I'm going to spill glue everywhere too, because that's what I like to do. Okay, so lay that down, be super careful. Get that lined up where you want it, like so. There we go. So that is matted now with that border. Okay, so that's how I did all of that. Now I hope that all made sense. I'm going to leave this here for a second. If you want to kind of zoom in, take a screenshot, or pause it and write all this stuff down, those are the instructions on how I did the pinwheel cuts for the green and the blue paper, and then the sizes of the green and blue paper that I used. So if you want to do it exactly as I did it, that's how I did it. If you don't, that's cool too. Do you, and you could do, you know, different seasons on each side. I thought about doing that too, but that's just kind of, you know, how I did it. So I wanted to show you that. Okay, so now I'm going to take these off because I want you to see what it's going to look like when you glue your papers on. If you're going to use the floral pattern, make sure you do it so that the orientation is correct. When you lift up the sides of your box, then the flowers will be standing up in the right order. Okay, so then it'll look like that. Okay, and then it'll look like that. And of course we haven't glued yet because we got to finish the inside first. Okay, and then like that. Okay, so then the inside of the box. So I've already glued the paper down on the bottom, and I did cut that floral into 5.5 by 7, and it's actually, if you look at the front of the box, my flowers are pointed that direction. Okay, because here's going to be the front of my box with the frame. Okay, so 5.5 by 7. I used the spring floral paper for that, and then I'm going to use the pink, and I had a 12 by 12 pink paper that I'm going to use on the inside. Now I can put this one here. on the back because we have the tabs here that need to attach, and then I'll put the pink over the tabs. Okay, so we can only put paper here, here, and then on the frame. Okay, so the pink pieces, I did the pinwheel cut again. So we need 2 pieces that are 7 by 4.5, and then 2 of them that are 5.5 by 4.5. So what I ended up doing was, if you ignore those, the bigger pieces are 7 by 4.5. If you add those together, that's 11.5. So that's, I cut the 12 by 12 paper to 11.5 by 11.5, and then I started that pinwheel cut to make my 4 pieces that were 7 by 4.5. And then I took 2 of those and trimmed those down to 5.5 by 4.5. Okay, so that's how I did that. Just how I ended up working it out. So I do have my pieces cut here. Again, you need 2 that are 7 by 4.5 and 2 that are 5.5 by 4.5. Okay, so I've got those. I can't put those on quite yet. I did put the back on. We do need to do the frame. Okay, so I have my piece cut for my frame, and it again is cut at 5.5 by 4.5. Now, this one is a little bit more fiddly because of the measurements. So when you make the frame, it actually needs to be 3/4 of an inch minus a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so it needs to be right in between 5/8 and 3/4 in order to give a nice frame around the inside and show a little bit of that black with the pink. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier to measure, but totally can be done. I'm going to draw on the back, grab my pencil. So I'm lining this up right in between. Let me see. I'm going to just line this up with my lines on my grid, just because then visually I can see it better. And I'm putting my ruler right in between 5/8 inch and 3/4 of an inch. So my pattern paper is right in between there. So it's 5/8 of an inch plus another 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so I did have someone ask me one time about why I don't just use 1/16, and the reason that I don't just use 1/16 is because a lot of people have trouble with it, including myself. And counting 1/16 is a lot harder for me than counting in 8ths. Okay, so that's why I say either plus a 1/16 or minus a 1/16 when I do that. So we just back it off a little bit. Okay, so we've got 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5/8 plus another 1/16 here. So right there. And then that's where I'm going to draw my pencil line. And then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to do it again. All right. So I'm just lining that up, making sure my paper is right in between there. And I'm trying to keep it as nice and straight as absolutely possible. Draw my line. One more time. This is a little bit harder to do on my ruler or on my cutter. So I just thought I would show you this way. So now you've seen both methods and you can choose which one works for you. Okay. And then I'm going to go right there. Making sure, trying to line that up nice and straight and draw my line. So I'm drawing it on the back. You can see that I went past the lines just a little bit. That's why I'm doing it on the back. And then I'm going to use just my straight edge and my ruler, and I'm just going to cut. Okay, so this is the second way to do this cut. Okay. I'm just lining it up. The pencil lines will help, and you don't have to fiddle with anything, measuring it, trying to cut it, and hopefully not, you know, cutting it wrong like I've done. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Okay, so one more cut, just matching up those pencil lines, do a little straight line, and we're done. Okay. There we go. We can save that piece for something else. And then we have our frame. And so if we grab our box for the inside here, this is going to cover up that acetate give you a little bit of a border, and it'll look really pretty, okay? So again, I need to ink, and I didn't show you this, but this is the ink I'm using. This is the Alt New Espresso dye ink that I'm using, and I've been, I haven't stamped with it, but it has been amazing for doing, you know, distress inking your edges and stuff. I love it. It works great. And I just like to, when I do my edges, I'm just taking that white edge off, and it just defines things. I don't do it on all my projects, but if I'm using like a dark brown artisan or a black artisan or something like that, I do like to do it. If it's a vintage project, you know, definitely like to do it. And Graphic 45 is, you know, also pretty vintage looking, okay? Now, because this is on acetate, I'm going to go ahead and use my score tape to make sure that that sticks down in the acetate. So I'm just going to do that. And where is my little, I do actually have one of these, and I don't use them half the time. So a little straight cutter that I can tear my tape and get all the way to the edge, but a lot of times I forget to use it because I'm silly that way, I guess. There we go, and we'll get that on there. Like so. This was a tool I made for myself a long time ago. That was a stamping block, and I glued a knob to it. And that's all I did. And it works great. So, okay. And I hardly ever use it. So, there's that. Then we can grab our project here. And I swear the acetate just collects all of the dust. I'm just going to kind of try and wipe this up first. Okay. Then we'll take that off. I'm going to be very careful when I lay this down because this will stick to everything immediately. And don't rip it. There we go. All right, I'm going to turn it so I can see it a lot better. So sorry if it's out of camera just for a second, okay? I'm just going to lay this down. Try and center that the first time. There we go. Just be very careful, very deliberate when you put it down. Make sure it's right, okay? And voila. So you have the inside covered, okay? And I got more dust on it. Gee whiz. Good gravy. I don't know how I do that. I really don't. Okay. So now we need to just create the rest of our box. So what we need to do is put glue on these tabs. Make sure I get in camera here. All right. And then I'm just going to fold that up, match my edges. All right, and glue that down. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over, and then I'm going to make sure, I'm going to burnish that down. Okay. Okay, and then we'll do the other side here. Raise that up. Kind of match my sides. Lay that down, burnish that down. Oh my goodness. Okay. Lots of paper cutting going on in here lately, and I have little paper fuzzies everywhere, I swear. Okay, so there's that. Now you can take a clip and kind of clip the corners. Make sure that that gives a little bit extra time to dry in the corners, okay? We can work on the other side. Okay, so these should go pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is glue both of them at the same time and then turn it over and then burnish that down. Now I do love art glitter glue. It does dry very fast. Okay, matching up my corners. Let's go over here. There we go. That looks pretty straight. I'm going to lay that down and go inside and burnish that down. Spread that glue on the tabs. Okay. Okay, then grab a couple clips. Got a little hanger on her there. Okay, we'll go like that. All right, let's go back to the first side. So now, once we're happy, we can go ahead and put that pink paper down. So I'm going to lay it on its side. Here's the pink paper. I've already inked it, and that's just going to slide in like that, okay? So I'm just going to put my glue on. Slide that in. All right. Burnish that down, spread the glue, make sure okay, like so. All right. Now we can probably go to the other side, do the same thing. Put my glue on my paper and we're good to go. And then all I have to do is decorate, which you've already seen because you've already seen the walkthrough. So yeah, this is the main piece of the project, and then you can just decorate to your heart's content however you wish to do it. So yeah, that is it. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask. I will have a lot of instructions down in the description box for some measurements and things, and because this was a little more technical than a lot of my other projects, you know, I'll have a little bit more information in there just because I want to make sure that everybody is successful. But there it is. There's your box, okay? So if you could imagine now, well, you can because you've already seen it, but now all I have to do is add my feet, and you can use art glitter glue. You can use, which works great. I've done it 100 times and it works fantastic. You can use hot glue. You can use whatever glue you choose to use, but we're going to have our feet on there. And then when you put your books in there, let's grab our books, get January in the front so you can see. So those will fit just like that. All 12 of them. Okay, you have room to grow because you're going to want to put photos and things like that in there, and they're so big you can add a lot of extra things in there. And then when it tips up, let me see if I can tip it up and show you, your calendar is going to show in the front. So that was the idea of the frame. So when you get to February, you can take January, pop it in the back, and then February will show. Okay. and so on and so on. So look how pretty this is going to be. And of course I got the Post-it note on March, but there you go. Look how pretty that's going to be, right? So that's my project. I really am glad that you watched. I hope you enjoy making it. And thank you so much for everything, for all your support. And I cannot wait for 2025 to show you all of the fun things that we're going to do throughout the year with my design team projects. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day. Stay crafty and safe, and I will see you again soon. All right, bye-bye.